Salvete, and welcome in to another edition of Latin Review with Magister Perrin. In this episode, I will be reviewing Lectio Tertia of chapter 23. Join me. Salve, welcome back. We're going to be going over Lectio 3, so please follow along in your text and use your notes for reference. Line number 84 begins with Marcus's response to Julius, who has just vituperated Marcus. He's just been very critical of him for stealing the tabulam of Sextus, because he thinks the father of Sextus will blame Sextus for not having his tabulam. And Marcus is feeling now a lot of shame because his father has reprehended him so severely. So let's pick up on line 81 before we go into Lectio 3, just so we can refresh ourselves. Line 81. Marcus qui Paulo ante ob timorem palebat, iam rubet propter pudorem. Puerum pudet facti sui, isquem factorem suorum pudet, rubere solet. Marcus. Certe malus puer fui, sed post hac bonus puer futurus sum, semper vobis pariturus sum, numquam pugnaturus sum in via, nec umquam in ludo dormiturus sum. Hoc vobis promito, pater et mater, mihi credite. So let's stop here briefly and just go over this paragraph, because we have a lot of these new participles of the future tense in this paragraph. Marcus says, Certe fui malus puer, eram malus puer, I was a bad boy, sed post hoc, id est post hoc tempus, in futuro, bonus puer futurus sum. Remember that futurus sum just means ero. Ego ero bonus puer. Semper vobis pariturus sum. Et hoc significat, ego semper parebo vobis. I will always obey y'all. And this is, vobis is referring to his parents. Numquam pugnaturus sum means ego numquam pugnabo. Nec umquam in ludo dormiturus sum. Nec umquam dormiam in ludo. Hoc vobis promito. Remember, promito means I promise. Hoc promito vobis, pater et mater, mihi credite. Believe me. So again, we've substituted, instead of using future tense, we've used the future participle with sum es est. And the subtle difference there, remember, is instead of saying I will fight, pugnaturus sum means I am going to fight. But here he's actually saying I am never going to fight again. I'm never going to sleep again in class. I'm always going to obey you. So he's making a promise, and that's why it's using future participles. This next paragraph is going to take that same paragraph and convert it into indirect speech, indirect statement using future infinitives. Let's read together. Marcus se malum puerum fuisse fatetur, ac simul promittit se post hoc bonum puerum futurum esse. Semper se parentibus pariturum esse, nec umquam in via pugnaturum, nec in ludo dormiturum esse. Id quod saepe ante hac promissit. So if we look at these forms, they are just infinitives. So instead of the straight direct statement of certe malus puer fui that we got in line 84, now Marcus is making an indirect statement about himself, and we're saying it all in third person. Marcus fatetur, remember that means Marcus confesses, se, himself, fuisse malum puerum, to have been a bad boy, ac simul, and then at the same time, promittit se, promises himself, post hoc, right, after this, bonum puerum futurum esse, and futurum, remember, is that irregular participle form of esse. So he promises himself to be a good boy in the future. Semper se parentibus pariturum esse. Et pariturum esse, remember, is the future infinitive of parere. We're taking that participle in the accusative, combining with esse makes a future infinitive. So he's promising himself to be going to obey his parents. Nec umquam in via pugnaturum, nec in ludo dormiturum esse. It's the same exact paragraph as before, but now it's all in indirect speech using future active infinitives. Id quod saepe ante hac promissit. Ergo Marcus saepe promissit se mutari, sed non saepe mutatus est, right? So he's promised this many times. Julius respondet, now on line 94. Primum fac quod promissisti, tum tibi credemus. Julius non credit Marcum promissum facturum esse. So primum fac quod promissisti is primum fac id quod promissisti. First, fac is the imperative form of facere. First, do what you promised. Then, credemus tibi. Then we'll believe you. Julius non credit Marcum promissum facturum esse. Promissum is the noun. It's new to this chapter. It means id quod promissum est, or id quod promittitur. Ergo Marcus Julius non credit Marcum facturum esse id quod Marcus promissit. Let's continue on to the next page. Marcus. Omnia quae promissi factura sum, nulli me verberare, iam bis verberatus sum a magistro. Ergo verbera magistri non satis fuerunt, inquit Julius. Profecto verbera meruisti. Tum oculos a filio avertens. Abi hinc ab oculis meis. Duc eum in cubiculum eus dave, atque include eum. Postia fer mihi clauem cubiculi. So here Marcus says, omnia quae promissi factura sum. Remember when we take an adjective and we make it nominative or accusative plural and we don't have any noun that it's following, that means that it's talking about res or things. So omnia hic significat omnes res. Marcus dicit, omnes res quas promissi ego factura sum. So ego faciam, I will do, omnia quae promissi. Nulli me verberare. Iam bis verberatus sum a magistro. Iam bis magister me verberavit. Et Julius respondet, line 99, ergo verbera magistri non satis fuerunt. And here, remember, verbera comes from verberare. It significat id quod discipulus accipit dum verberatur. Verbera sunt beatings. So verbera magistri non fuerunt satis. They weren't sufficient, says Julius. Profecto meruisti verbera. Tum oculos a filio avertens. Abi hinc, abi ex hoc loco. Ab oculis meis. Discede e oculis meis doesn't mean literally go out of my eyes or from my eyes. It means abi ex hoc cubiculo. Abi hinc. Duc eum in cubiculum eus dave significat porta eum ad cubiculum. It's the imperative of ducere. Et postia fer mihi clauem cubiculi. Et postia da mihi, fer is the imperative of fere, da mihi clauem cubiculi, and you see a picture of a clavis in the margins right there. Bene. Postquam davus puerum ex atrio duxit, Dominus haec omnia inquit. Facta sunt quod medus heri domo fugit. Nec hodie Marcum in ludum eiuntum et ilinc redeiuntum comitari potuit. Post hac Marcum sine comite ambulare non sinam. Cras davus eum comitabitur, is certe bonus comes erit. And pardon me for the noise. So let's just reread that briefly and understand what Julius is saying in this paragraph. Postquam davus puerum ex atrio duxit, Dominus haec omnia inquit. Facta sunt, quod medus heri domo fugit. Nec hodie Marcum in ludum eiuntum et ilinc redeiuntum comitari potuit. So he's saying, haec omnia, remember, means hae omnes res, all these things. Factae sunt, all these things are done or have happened. Quia medis heri, and heri, remember, means yesterday, as dies ante hodie. Medis heri fugit e domo, nec potuit medis, comitari Marcum in ludum euntem et illinc redeuntem. Euntem et redeuntem come as they are participles which come from the verb ire, and they're irregular. So euntem significat qui eat ad scholam, et redeuntem significat qui redit ad ludo. So Medis was not able to accompany Marcus going to school or returning illinc from that place, ex illo loco. Post hoc, Marcum sine comite ambulare non sinam. Remember, sinere means to allow. So Julius is saying he will not allow Marcum ambulare without a comite. Et comes comes from comitari. It significat homo qui comitatur, or a companion. All right, next paragraph. Marco in cubiculum ducto atque incluso davus redit, et Marcus inquit inclusus est, ecce clavis cubiculi. Julius clavum sumit ac surgit. Aemilia, quae putat eum ad Marcum ire, quois Juli inquit, Marcum ne verberatum is? Aemilia Marcum a patre verberatum iri putat. Noli eum verberare, non puto eum post hoc in via pugnaturum, neque in ludo dormiturum esse. Julius, putasne iam mutatum esse istum puerum. Ego eum nec mutatum esse, nec post hoc mutatum iri credo. Quamquam heri a me semel verberatus est, atque hodie bis a magistro, nec verbera patris, nec magistri, eum meliorem fecerunt. Aemilia, ergo non opus est iterum eum verberare, nec laudibus, nec verberibus melior fieri potest. Let's stop and reread starting at line 110. Marco in cubiculum ducto atque incluso is an interesting clause. Do you recognize what case incluso et Marco et ducto are in? Take a minute and think on it. If you thought the ablative case, you'd be correct. This is what we call an ablative absolute, except this time you're seeing it with the perfect passive participle, ducto and also incluso, which you haven't seen before. Most of the time you've seen it with the You've seen it with the present active participle. Here you're seeing it with the perfect passive participle. And when you use it with the present active participle, it means while something is happening. For instance, gallo canente Marcus surgit means while the rooster crows, while the rooster sings, Marcus rises. But here it means something a little different. In Marco ducto et incluso significat post quam Marcus ductus est in cubiculum et inclusus est. It means after Marcus has been led to his room and has been shut in his room. So when you use the perfect passive participle with the ablative absolute, and it refers to something that's already been finished, already been completed before the main action of the sentence. So this whole clause is saying, Marcus, having been led into his room and enclosed, Davus returns, et Marcus inquit inclusus est. Ecce clavis cubiculi, and he holds out the key. Julius clauum sumit at surgit, atque surgit. Aemilia, quae putat eum ad Marcum ire, so Aemilia putat Julium ire ad Marcum, says, quois Julii, remember quois means where are you going? Quois Julii, Marcum ne verberatum is? And that form verberatum in this context with a verb such as is a supine. So he's saying, are you going to go beat Marcus? Aemilia Marcum a patre verberatum iri putat. And here we have that form that is new to us. Verberatum iri is a future passive infinitive. It's saying that Aemilia thinks Marcus, by the father, is going to be beaten. She thinks that he's going to be beaten by his father. Noli eum verberare, non puto eum post hoc in via pugnaturum, neque in ludo dormiturum esse. And here we have not passive infinitives, but we have actually active infinitives for the future tense. She's saying, I don't think Marcus is going to fight again or is going to sleep again in school. Julius, putasne jam mutatum esse istum puerum? Ego eum nec mutatum esse, nec post hoc mutatum iri credo. So this is a little tricky because this infinitive, if you remember, is actually a perfect passive infinitive, but mutatum iri is a future passive infinitive. So Julius is saying, he's saying, do you think the boy to have been changed? Do you think him changed? Ego non puto eum mutatum esse, nec post hoc mutatum iri. I don't think him to have been changed, nor do I think that he's going to be changed. Quam heri a me semel verberatus est, atque hodie bis a magistro. So although he was beaten once yesterday by me and twice today by the teacher, nec verbera patris, nec magistri eum meliorum fecerunt. So verbera don't make Marcus meliorum. They haven't made him a better person. Aemilia, ergo non opus est iterum eum verberare, ergo non necesse est, non apportet verberare eum rursus. It's not good to beat him again. Nec laudibus, nec verberibus melior fieri potest. She's saying laudes, neque verbera faciunt Marcum meliorum. He's not able to be made better with praise or with beatings. Let's go on to the next page. Julius responds on the top of page 184. Julius, noli timere Aemilia, Marcum in cubiculo relinquam, iam epistulam scripturus sum. Julius dicit se epistulam scripturam esse. Aemilia, cuinam scripturus est? Magistros scilicet, cras davus Marci comes epistulam meum secum feret, quae a Marco ipso tradetur magistro. Tabellarius, qui epistula magistri tradidit, tempus perdit si foris responsum meum operitur, demite eum dave, dic ei responsum meum cras a Marco traditum iri. Let's go back. At the top of the page, Julius says, noli timere Aemilia, Marcus in cubiculo relinquam. Iam epistulam scriptura sum, and here scriptura sum, remember, means iam scribam epistulam, I'm going to write a letter. Julius dicit se epistulam scripturam esse, and then we convert that same sentence into indirect statement using the future active infinitive. Julius says himself, say, to be going to write, scripturam esse, a letter. Aemilia, cui nam scripturus es? She's asking, cui nam scribas, O Juli? And cui nam means to whom now. Remember, cui nam? It's just the same as qui nam or quod nam or quid nam. But this is in the dative case because it's cui. To whom are you going to write a letter? Julius, magistro scilicet, cras davus Marci comes, epistula meam secum feret. And feret is the future tense of fere. So cras davus portabit epistulam, cum se, with himself, quae epistula, which letter? A Marco ipso tradetur magistro. So davus is going to carry the letter, but Marcus ipse David aut tradet epistulam magistro. Tabellarius, qui epistulam magistri tradidit, tempus perdit si foris responsum meum operitur. Remember that miserable Tabellarius who was out in the rain? Well, he is still waiting for Julius's reply because it was customary for letter carriers to wait at the door for someone to write a reply to the sender of the letter for the letter carrier to take back with them. But Julius is saying that he's not going to send his response now, but he's going to send it cras. So he's saying that the tabularius perdit tempus. Remember, perdit means waste or ruin, so he's wasting time. See if operitur, si expectat responsum meum foris, if he's waiting for my response outside. Timite eum dave, dic tabulario, responsum meum cras a Marco traditum iri. So tell him my response to be coming tomorrow by Marcus, to be going to be carried. Traditum iri is the passive future infinitive, a Marco. Aemilia, nonne Marcus simul cum epistula tua mercedem debitum tradet magistro? Julius owes some money here, if you remember correctly, to the teacher. Julius, minime, ego enim plane respondebo me mercedem solvere nole. Quid ais, nonne te pudet pauperi magistro mercedem negare? Quam obrem mercedem debitam solvere non vis? Causam afere apportet. Julius, magister ipse mihi causam atulit. Aemilia, quonam modo? Quaenam causa allata est a magistro? Julius, in his litteris magister ipse fatetur se filium meum nihil docere posse. Ergo mercedem non meruit. Pecuniam quae merita non est, non solvam, nolo pecuniam meam perdere. And let's reread starting at line 134. Aemilia says, nonne Marcus simul cum epistula tua mercedem debitam tradet magistro? Et debitam mercedem is just pecunia quae debetur. It's owed money. In this case, it's owed tuition. She's asking why isn't Marcus going to bring the tuition to the teacher? And Julius says, minime, ego plane respondebo me nole mercedem solvere. And nole is an infinitive form of the verb nolo, which if you remember correctly means ego non volo, non volt. So he's saying that he will reply with indirect speech himself, me, myself, nole, to not want or to be unwilling, solvere mercedem, to be unwilling to pay the money. Aemilia, quid ais, what are you saying? Nonne te pudet pauperi magistro mercedem negare? Doesn't it shame you to deny the poor teacher his tuition? Quam obrem mercedem debitam solvere non vis. And here, quam obrem is interesting. Quam obrem just means ob quam rem, or propter quam rem. The order is changed a little in Latin. They like to put the preposition sometimes sandwiched in between the adjective and the noun, or in this case, the pronoun and the noun. So because of what thing, she's asking, cur, in other words, cur mercedem debitam solvere non vis. Why don't you want to pay the money? Causam afere apportet. It is fitting to bring a cause forward, to offer an explanation. Julius, magister ipse mihi causam atulit. Atulit, remember, is the perfect tense form of afere. Magister himself gives me a cause. Aemilia, quonam modo. And remember, quonam just means quo modo. What now, or how now? Quo modo, quaenam causa, quae causa, allata est a magistro. What cause is brought forth by the teacher? Julius, in his litteris magister ipse fatetur, he's confessing, se himself, filium meum nihil docere posse. He's saying that he's not able to teach my son. Non posse docere, or nihil posse docere, filium meum. And here docere has two accusatives. It's going with posse, and it's going with nihil, et filium. So the teacher confesses himself to be able to teach my son nihil. Ergo mercedem non meruit. Magister qui nihil potest docere, nullum mercedem meruit. Pecuniam quae merita non est, ego non solvam. Ego non dabo pecuniam quae non est merita. Nolo pecuniam meum perdere. I don't want to waste my money. And now let's read the last little response. This is where it gets very philosophical. On line 148. Epistulam sumens Aemilia, Itane scribit magister, inquit, tum epistula lecta, hoc te non excusat, nam plane scribit Marcum ipsum nihil discre velle, et qui nihil discre volt, nihil discre potest. Non modo posse, sed etiam velle opus est, quod non vis, non potest. Julius ridens, ho ho ho, recte dicis, inquit, ego enim pecuniam solvere nolo, ergo solvere non possum. Hoc dicens Julius epistula magisteri scindit. So let's look back at this paragraph. Aemilia sumit epistulam on line 148, et itane scribit magister, inquit, it is hoc modo or illo modo scribit magister, in that way. Et epistola lecta, this is an ablative absolute, so it means postquam epistola lecta est, hoc te non excusat, nam plane scribit, Marcum ipsum nihil discre velle. So what are the exact words of the teacher? He says, Marcus ipse nihil discre volt. And Aemilia is relaying them in indirect speech. Et, says Aemilia, is qui nihil discre volt, right? Homo qui nihil discre volt, nihil discre potest. Good maxim. Non modo posse, sed etiam velle opus est. Non modo necesse est posse, sed etiam velle necesse est. It's not sufficient just to be able, but you also have to want. Velle is the infinitive that means to want. Id quod non vis, non potest. That which you don't want, you're not able to do. Julius ridens, recte dicis, rightly you speak, he says. Ego enim pecuniam solvere nolo, ego non volo solvere pecuniam, ergo solvere non possum. So he says, I don't want to pay the money, so I'm not able, according to that principle. Hoc dicens Julius epistula magisteri scindit. And you have a picture of that in the margins. So here Julius is claiming that because he does not want to do this, he's not able to do it. Because how can we do something that we don't want? This actually is an argument that Socrates takes up in his Platonic dialogues. So one of his points was that we only want that which is good for us. And the reason why we do and choose bad things is because we're confused about what's good for us. We're mistaken about what's good for us. So we think that something is good for us when in reality it's harmful to us. But in that moment when we chose it, we desired it because we thought it was good for us in that moment. So this is a philosophical theme that's picked up. And Julius is using it here as an excuse to not pay his tuition. Thank you so much for listening in. And please reread this Lectio, Lectio 3, after you've read through it here on the video. And come to me with questions that you have or parts of it that are still confusing. Have a wonderful day. Valete omnes.